Hi everyone, I hope you're all having a great day so far. So today for math, we're going to be starting on page 311, and this is lesson 810. So we're going to be sorting polygons by angles, and our vocab word here is polygon, and we know that polygons are closed figures made up of straight lines. So for a shape to be a polygon, it has to be a closed figure, and it has to be made up of straight lines. So here it says triangles and quadrilaterals are examples of polygons. So we know that all of these triangles and quadrilaterals are polygons because they are all closed figures made up of straight line segments. So if we look at number 1, it says which figures have one or more acute angles. So we need to look at all of our angles. So if we look at this rectangle here, we know that this is made up of 4 right angles. So we know that this one does not have any acute angles. If we look at this triangle here, we can see that we have an acute angle right here and an acute angle here. So triangle B has 2 acute angles, so we can write B. If we look at this triangle here, we can see that we have 3 acute angles. You can see we have an acute triangle, so we can write C. If we look at this trapezoid here, we can see that we have an acute angle here as well as an acute angle here. So this trapezoid has 2 acute angles. And then this right triangle here, we know it's right because of the right angle. We can see that these 2 angles are acute angles. So we can see that's an acute angle and this. So we could write E. And then if we look at this rhombus here, we can see that right here we have an acute angle as well as here. So these 2 angles are both acute, so we can write F. And then here we can see that this angle is not acute, but this angle right here, we do have an acute one. So we can write G. And then here we can see that we have an acute angle here and an acute angle here. So we have 2 acute angles. Okay, so now number 2, which figures have one or more right angles? Well, we know our rectangle has 4 right angles, so we know we can write A. And then we know that this right triangle has 1 right angle, so we can write E. And then we know this trapezoid here has 2 right angles, so we can write G. Okay, and now number 3 says which figures have one or more obtuse angles? Well, we know these are all right angles. If we look at B, we know these are acute, and we can see that this angle here is an obtuse angle. So this is an obtuse angle. So we can write B. And then we know these are acute. If we look at D, we can see that this trapezoid has an obtuse angle here and an obtuse angle here. So this trapezoid has 2 obtuse angles. So we can write D. And then we know this one does not. If we look at this rhombus, we can see this angle here is an obtuse angle. So we have an obtuse angle here, and we have an obtuse angle here. So we have 2 obtuse angles, so we can write F. Okay, and now if we look at this trapezoid, we have this acute angle. We can see here that this angle is going to be obtuse. So we have an obtuse angle, so we can write G. And then lastly, we can see that this angle right here is going to be obtuse. We can also see that this angle is going to be obtuse. So we have 2 obtuse angles, so we can write H. Okay, so numbers 4 and 5 you will actually be completing as part of today's assignment, but for now we're going to move on to page 312 and go over a few of these. So we just classified polygons by its angles, and now we're going to sort polygons by their sides. So number 6 says, which figures have perpendicular sides? And we know that perpendicular is when the 2 sides meet to make a right angle. So they form a right angle when they cross or when they meet up with each other. So which figures have perpendicular lines? We know that this rectangle does because this has 4 right angles. So when these lines meet up, they form this right angle, which makes these perpendicular lines. So for number 6, we can write A. And then we also know that this triangle here is a right triangle. We have this right angle. So we know that these 2 sides are perpendicular. So we can write E. And then lastly, we know we have 2 right angles here. So we know that these sides are perpendicular. So we can write G. So now for number 7, it says, which figures have exactly 1 pair of opposite sides parallel? So if we look at our rectangle, we know that this has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So we know that's not 1. And then we know neither of these triangles have parallel sides. If we look at this trapezoid, we can see that we know that these 2 sides are parallel because these 2 sides are not. If we were to extend them, we know that they would eventually cross over each other, but these 2 would not, and they're the same distance apart. So we know that this trapezoid has 1 pair of parallel sides. So we can write D. So we know that, again, this triangle does not have any. If we look at this rhombus, we know that this has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So if we look at this trapezoid here, we can see that these 2 sides are parallel. So this side and this side are parallel. But we know that these 2 are not. We can see that these are not the same distance apart. So we can write G. And here we can see that we don't actually have any parallel sides because these aren't the same distance apart. So for number 7, we only have 2 figures with 1 pair of opposite sides parallel. So now for number 8, which figures have 2 pairs of opposite sides parallel? Our rectangle we know does because these 2 and these 2 are parallel. So for 8, we can write A. And then we also talked about for rhombus, we know this has 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. So for number 8, we have A and we have the rhombus, so we have F. And we know that those are the only 2 out of these that have 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. Okay, so once you are all done with this, numbers 9 and 10 will also be part of the assignment, and that will be posted on Google Classroom. All right, thank you everyone. Have a great rest of your day.